Howdy, folks. Happy Wednesday. Happy hump day. Well, as I said earlier in the week, this could be the worst conference finals in the history of the NHL since we now have two series that are 3-0 with one possible sweep tonight, one potential sweep tomorrow. We'll discuss that in the next few minutes. Probably do a shorter show today since it's just the two of us. But we'll start with the pre-show. Go ahead, Russ.
Well, there's an injustice going on in the world. There's a lot of them, but this one really got me. Oscar Mayer is renaming the Wienermobile to the Frankmobile. And it's like, why? And so you look at it and you find out.
I'll tell you why.
Hold on. Let me finish.
Okay, I'll tell you why, but go ahead.
Badinsky, it's because they have a new product coming out, a 100% beef hot dog. Now you can comment.
Okay. They are renaming the Wienermobile because Wiener has a connotation that they don't want to express any longer.
So hold on. So for the last, 30 years or more, however long this thing's been around, guys been driving around the country. I've got pictures of it. It's been at like the Winter Classic. Yeah. It's been everywhere. Now all of a sudden that's a problem. Like there are still wieners that are food, Mike.
Yeah, well, I'm not offended, but the great woke culture out there. Ooh, so I will bet you anything that they maybe won't say that, but I bet you that's the reason why.
But the fact that all of a sudden they have a new recipe for 100% beef frank kind of leads me to believe that they're trying to horn in on some of the other competition that have been 100% beef frank forever.
Well, and see, this is the thing. It's because, all right, I like hot dogs. You could tell by my physique. I love the particular brand.
I haven't had a hot dog in 30-something years.
I know. That's why I'll be the official spokesman of the Hockey Buzzcast when it comes to hot dogs.
Yes.
The brand in Western New York is Salen's. I've eaten them since I was 5 years old. Got tired of them after a while. Now my favorite is the Hebrew National Kosher Beef Hot Dog. It's a beautiful thing.
The Gold Star.
Yes. Plus,
gold standard.
The gold standard. And you know what? I don't eat hot dogs as much as I used to, but when I do, I'm going to spend a little extra to get that. So anybody trying to horn in on the kosher beef hot dog market, good luck. But you're not going to do it.
I will tell you this, and for people out there, if you want to look it up, if you want to try like a hot dog, if you think you've eaten a hot dog, eat a special. It's called a special. Mm-hmm. This thing is about 5 times the thickness of a hot dog. Of a regular.
It's this big?
It's massive.
That sounds like you
don't have it with a bun.
That sounds like, how the Jimmy Dean sausage comes in like the wrapper and it's like that wide. That's not that's the size of, knockwurst or something like that.
Yeah, it's on Flickr. If you put in Hebrew National Specials, you'll see that they're too big for a bun. Yeah. Don't eat them with a bun. You just eat them the way they are. Like with beans, you put them on top of the beans and you're good to go. You want to put your mustard, whatever. You want to do whatever. But I'm just saying, these things, we used to have these when I was a kid, and they're massive.
Yeah. Massive. That doesn't exactly sound.
They taste good, Mike. I mean, the taste is there.
Yeah, I guess I'll take your word for it. No, yeah, like the Terry Schneider's are the ones in Canada. When you go to a Blue Jays game, it's a Schneider's hot dog, so it's not bad, not terrible. I personally, like when I went to Yankee Stadium, they used to have the Hebrew National hot dog, and then last year, like I told Russ, it's like I go there. Yeah. I went for a Saturday game, and Saturday was the Sabbath, so the stand was closed, and I'm like, screw that! It's a Saturday baseball.
Mike cursed on the Sabbath. I'm sure he did.
Yes, of course I did. I swore up and down. But
that's like, once you can get a Hebrew National, you don't want to eat like a Sabret, as an example, another New York brand that's on the street.
And that was the fallback at the stadium.
That's not a good fallback.
No. I made do with the garlic French fries, and I just had to. But no, it's like, yes.
I'd be like eating a ballpark, Frank. Remember those things?
No, negatory. Nope, can't do it. All right, okay. Let's start the show. Hello, Hockey World. Today is Wednesday, May 24th, the 24th of May, 2023.
Why does that matter?
Well, the song that I just played you, the 24th of May.
I'm an American. I don't care. I'm Russ Cohen from Sportsology.
And I'm Michael Agello, and this is the HockeyBuzzcast here on HockeyBuzz.com. And Russ refuses to recognize the greatness of Rush. But anyway.
Listen, Rush are fine. I don't have them on my iPod. They're a very talented band. Yes. I loved when Geddy Lee played bass for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame for Yes. I appreciated Neil Peart, what he could do. Yes. I liked like 2 songs. I never went to see him because I didn't have an inkling to go see him. So
I saw him 5 times. Once at the Odd in Buffalo, which the picture for their live album, I think it's Exit Stage Left, is from the show that I went to, and I saw them on their last tour. So one of my favorite bands. And actually, I was at the Rogers Center at a Yankees Blue Jays game, and I snuck down behind the plate. In seats that you probably can't sneak down to anymore. And it was Roy Halladay versus Mike Mussina that game. Good match. I ended up not knowing until he got up to go to the bathroom, not knowing that I was sitting 2 rows behind Geddy Lee, which was hilarious.
That's cool.
Oh yeah. I didn't say anything because I was afraid I was going to get kicked out. But anyway, all right.
Whistled like one of their songs and see if he'd turn around.
Yeah, I'll start playing Xanadu in front of him. That'll work. Okay, so last night.
Xanadu, that's an Olivia Newton-John song.
No, there's a Xanadu that's a Rush song, Russ. Thank you, and you know that.
The other Xanadu is a much bigger hit, I'm sure.
Well, let's just say I would have rather watched Olivia Newton-John because she was a beautiful woman, but I'd rather listen to the Rush version of Xanadu, and it's not the same song. Okay, so last night we were hoping that we would have the beginnings of a series in the Western Conference Final between Vegas and Dallas, but lo and behold, that those hopes were dashed because one team didn't show up, and that was Dallas. And then Dallas was undone by their team captain. And we'll start with that. Jamie Benn is facing a hearing with the NHL Department of Player Safety for a pretty dumb play where he knocks Mark Stone down on the ice and cross-checks him.
It was brainless.
That gave them a 5-minute power play and a game misconduct. And I know that Vegas scored on that power play, and that just put Dallas even further behind the 8 ball. The game ended up very one-sided in favor of Vegas. I mean, and I think the series, for all intents and purposes, is over with.
It is. It's so weird though, because like I said, the game before that, Dallas, if they could have just clamped down their lead, they could have won that. I don't know what caused Jamie Benn to act like that, but the fact is he didn't talk to the media yesterday, and then today he's trying to act like, yeah, he wish he had a better landing. And I was like, you landed on the guy's throat with your stick, and you did it more than once. Stop, Jamie, just stop. I mean, you lost it. That's what happened. You lost it.
Yeah, I don't know if it was just cover to say, well, he didn't want to talk to the media right after the game because he wanted to face the Department of Player Safety first or what. I don't know. All I know is it was dumb, and I don't think it cost them the series because I think they were all already on the way out.
No, so you'll never know. I mean, it was early in the game. They get to go 2 goals up. You don't know if Dallas goes on the board first. But again, it doesn't matter now. But the point is, when you're a captain, you don't do that. And so that's something where people are going to remember that. It's a shame because, listen, Jamie Benn's a heck of a player, but this was a really ill-timed thing. And I'm glad Mark Stone didn't get hurt from that because he's had back issues, as we know. And luckily, he's okay. But that, you looked at it and it was like a total caveman moment.
Yeah, the penalty was at 1:53 of the first period.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
Marchessault had already scored to make it 1-0. They got a goal to make it 2-0 from Barbashev. But that was it.
That's right. I thought they got 2 on that. They got 1.
No, they scored right after. So, it put them – they were in a hole already, but it put them deeper in a hole. And then basically at 3-0, I think they were pretty much done. And that's when Ottinger was pulled. And that, I have to say this. I gave Dallas – I picked Dallas in this series, and it was mostly on the basis of Ottinger being better than Hill. But obviously, Ottinger has not been better than Hill.
Nope. He was not up to the task. He was getting to this point, but Aiden Hill has outplayed him. So you got to give Aiden Hill credit. Like, I don't even know what Aiden Hill's contract status is, but like,
he's a UFA at the end of the year.
Of course he is. Now, but the thing is, in the old days, somebody would have signed him to like a ridiculous 3-year deal, whatever. I don't think that's going to happen, but I think a team will give him a 2-year deal. And that's 2 more years that he would have gotten if, he didn't get into the playoffs here. So, he's playing for probably the biggest deal of his career, and he deserves it.
Well, and I've been advocating this for the Buffalo Sabres in terms of, I think they need a goaltender who's established, not somebody who's going to play 50 games because they want Devin Levi to be the number one goalie, but Eric Comrie is a backup. I mean, if anything, at worst, he's a third stringer and an AHL guy. Luukkonen is not, in my mind, not consistent enough to be a guy who plays 30 games. I would go out and sign Aiden Hill if I were the Sabres to be the 1B to Devin Levi.
2 years, $5 million.
Yeah, $2.5 million. It's not going to cost you a ton.
Yeah, I'd do it.
I think that makes the most sense. Now, it was interesting. Jeff Merrick was talking about this in terms of what teams are trying to do to Vegas. And he says, if you look at the blueprint of what Edmonton tried to do to Vegas, they were beating up on Pietrangelo to the point that Pietrangelo slashed Draisaitl as a message to them, like, stop it. And they were also hitting on Mark Stone heavily. And it seems like Dallas, because Pietrangelo got slashed by Max Domi. Domi got fined $5,000. It seems like they're trying the same playbook and it's not working, but they're trying to wear down these guys. The problem is they're down 3-0 and they're probably toast.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, Florida just looked at them when they were trying to do that. Like, we're not going to do that. Like, it's one thing to be aggressive in your play and to make hits in the quarter and everything else, but it's another thing to just sort of like
be irresponsible.
Not be irresponsible, but just try and come up and conjure up all of this physicality at a moment's notice to try and turn a series. It doesn't work that way. It really doesn't. It's like, it's like the fight in a game. Most times it doesn't change momentum. Once in a blue moon it does. And the teams that thought that all of a sudden it's like, all right, you know what? Even though we don't do this, we're going to come out swinging in this game. It didn't help them. So is this an odd year in the playoffs? Yeah, it's an odd year. There's a lot of weird stuff going on. But again, this is what's good about the sport of hockey. You just don't know.
Yeah, and apparently there was some reaction. I didn't see this until this morning where Aiden Hill was interviewed after the game, and apparently he'd been pelted by the fans with popcorn. The Stars released a statement after the games on behalf of the Stars organization. I would like to apologize to the Golden Knights and the NHL for the actions of a few of our spectators at last night's game. These actions were unacceptable and put the safety of our players and fans at risk. I mean, you see that, especially where, this team, they beat Minnesota, they beat Seattle. I think they thought that, it was going to be a pretty close, long series against Vegas, and the way the Stars have played. I think that it's been disappointing, and fans will react that way. Not that justifies it.
They should never react that way. It's like, I don't understand what's in a fan's head when they do that. Like, I just don't get it. Why would you throw stuff on the ice? Why would you throw popcorn at a player? Aiden Hill had a funny quote about it too. But again, it's not funny if all of a sudden you're throwing something harder and, it hits a guy and it hurts a guy. It's like, what are you doing? It's like, grow up.
Yeah, I can't remember what it was, but the no goal calls in New Jersey when the Leafs played in New Jersey, and they were throwing, it wasn't popcorn, it was bottles and cans and stuff like that onto the ice when the NHL, the officials waved off 3 goals. So yeah, I mean, no, nothing justifies it, but now
he said, his quote was, I guess everything was hitting me tonight.
Yeah. Even the popcorn was bouncing off of me, so that was good. Now tonight, Carolina faces elimination, Game 4 in Florida. I mean, it's, Barkov is playing, so any thought of this being a David Krejci 2010 type of thing, it doesn't sound like the injury was serious. Otherwise, he wouldn't be in the lineup with them up 3-0. I mean, again, I don't think Carolina's coming back and winning. It's only happened 4 times in the history of the NHL. But they can lengthen the series. And, we thought Carolina, some people picked Carolina to win the series. So, could they extend it? Sure. But right now,
extended the game.
Yeah, right now, the way things are going, it looks like, I don't take anything away from their pride, but I just think, honestly, right now, Florida, everything is rolling for Florida, Russ.
Yeah, both Stahl brothers are there. We barely know him. Mark's playing pretty well. He has a role at least. I haven't seen Jared Stahl. I'm not sure if they ever signed him or not. I kid. I'm just saying, if we're talking Stahls.
Wow.
But no, I do like what Florida's done. Obviously, I have, covered Bob for a long time and gotten to know him and his game and everything else. So I'm happy for him. I'm happy for Zito because he took it. Listen, we killed him for 3/4 of a season this year. And then when the team got it together, man, did they ever get it together. So they're better without Jonathan Huberdeau. There's no question about that. I think that's obvious. Maybe there was a little too much emphasis trying to get the puck to him or getting him going or whatever. Now that doesn't exist. For whatever reason, Sam Reinhart, who I always thought was a super smart player and was better than what he gave in Buffalo, is showing here. And I think that's partially on Buffalo too. I do. And so that's nice. And they just, they picked up players that we all knew, like Bennett, that could play, and they've elevated their game, and a Duclair. I've always been a fan of Duclair. And so I just think it's terrific. And there's no doubt to me they're winning that series. And right now, I know, it's funny. Every team, I was listening to Sirius earlier when I was mowing the lawn, and every team always thinks there's a team you're ignoring. So, like, if I don't pick Vegas for one time in this playoffs, like, I got a note, why are you against Vegas? I'm like, I'm not against Vegas. I just happen to like these other teams better. We talk about Vegas all the friggin' time. It's not like we don't talk about them, but there's fan bases that just get this inferiority complex. So, yeah, I've talked about Vegas, and a lot of times I've said it's unbelievable what they've done with this goaltending, because I don't know any other team that's had to overcome a goaltending issue like this.
Yeah, I sent a note to a friend of mine, and I said, after last night, Aiden Hill could end up being the worst goaltender to win a Stanley Cup since Antti Niemi if Vegas wins the Stanley Cup. And I'm not taking anything away from him, but if you look at the goaltenders who have won the Stanley Cup over the last, 13, 14 years, Tim Thomas and Fleury and Murray. And there's some really good goaltenders. And, normally, what's that?
Andy Aikenhead.
Who?
Andy Aikenhead. He won the Stanley Cup for the Rangers.
No, in the last 13 years.
Oh, I thought you said ever, Mike. Okay.
No, in the last 13 years.
Oh, okay.
Since Antti Niemi, since 20.
Why are we limiting it to just 13 years?
Because Antti Niemi was the most recent average to below average goaltender that has won the Stanley Cup. If you go back.
Yeah, I just named you.
Yeah, Andy Aikenhead. Okay, Lester Patrick, Well,
Lester Patrick doesn't count because he was coaching and he went in and he won the goddamn Stanley Cup. That's pretty good.
Did Steve the Puck Gozinski win a Stanley Cup?
Listen, go look up Andy Aikenhead. It's a good story. I wrote about it in a couple books.
Yeah, no, and Matt Murray was a good goaltender until he started having injuries. GSL.
Yeah, Matt Murray, he won a couple cups for a reason. Like, Marc-Andre Fleury was on the bench while Matt Murray was winning. So clearly there was a time when Matt Murray really had it. And he does still have it. It's just his body breaks down. That's the problem.
Right. Okay, so we'll watch that game tonight. The finalists for the NHL Jim Gregory GM of the Year award came out. Bill Zito. I'm sorry, I had the email here. Don Sweeney, and 1 second here. Jim Nill of Dallas. So those are the 3 finalists. Honestly,
I think Sweeney's going to win, but I would give it to Zito.
Well, the funny thing here is and I don't disagree with you, but Bill Zito didn't make any moves this year.
But he did a lot last year. See, this
he made the Kachuk deal.
Yes.
And that, that's probably going to get him either first or second place. But he didn't make any deadline deals. He added Eric Stahl and Mark Stahl.
Mark Stahl's been a good ad. We have to admit.
But I'm saying normally you associate the GM of the year with somebody who makes moves at the end of the year or during the year to adjust. And in this instance, I mean, okay, Sweeney, he brought in Bertuzzi, he brought in Orloff and Hathaway.
Hathaway, yep.
There were significant moves during the year. Really, from the beginning of the year, Zito didn't do much.
He also had Alex Lyon there ready to go. Like, they weathered the storm with their goaltending. I don't care. I'm giving it to Bill Zito. You do whatever you want.
No, I mean,
you don't like Bill Zito. I get it. It's fine.
Okay. Yeah. There you go. That's the reason why, Russ. Thank you.
Well, at least you've come clean.
Yes. I hate Bill Zito. There you go.
Okay. We'll
somebody's gonna take a little gif of that and send it to Bill Zito, and then I'm my ass is grass. Okay, so let's for the last few minutes of the show, because I said we're going to do a short show today. The coaching carousel, it's getting interesting. We don't really we know Spencer Carberry has interviewed in Washington. That was reported on Monday by Tariq El-Bashir. He supposedly is in the mix for Anaheim. I don't know whether he is interviewed with the Rangers, but reportedly he's in the mix with the Rangers as well. We've heard reports about Mike Babcock talking to Columbus. I think it's been out there that there was interest in him with the Rangers.
Yeah.
Now, Peter Laviolette, same thing. Columbus, Rangers. There was a report out there apparently that Sergei Fedorov was in the mix for Columbus, but that was refuted. So
I heard that.
So really, there's a lot of stuff out there, and I mean, it's but nothing has moved. And Calgary, the speculation is that Gerard Gallant is in the mix for Calgary, along with their AHL coach and a couple other names.
Sheldon Keefe's going to be in the mix for the Rangers and at least one other job, maybe two other jobs.
Well, right now he's not in the mix because he's still the coach of the Leafs.
But he won't be for long.
Well, I mean, that depends on the GM situation, which we'll get to in a minute. But let's talk about just all those names. It's like I'll say this: like with Anaheim, I would think it would be a young coach. I would think it would be a teaching coach with all the young players that they have. It really doesn't make sense to bring in a hard ass like Babcock.
Yeah, I just think Pat Verbeek's being nice to his old boss. I don't think that's a good fit there either. Just like I didn't think Dallas Eakins was a good fit there. Dallas Eakins is a really good AHL coach. He's just not a good NHL coach. It's just the way it is sometimes. But yeah, I would bring in somebody a little younger who can bond with the young players, who can kind of bring them along. I do think there's a lot of sense to that. I would like to see that for Anaheim, because I think with the way they draft and the way Verbeek has actually been really good and tactical this year, getting the draft pick that he wanted. He's going to get Fantilli. I think, we're going to see Anaheim doing some things in the next 2 years. Yeah.
Now, Columbus, it seems like Columbus is looking for a more veteran coach. I mentioned to you before that, this is sort of like if they go for a Babcock or a Laviolette, they're sort of following the same blueprint that they did with Tortorella, because Tortorella was coming off the disaster in Vancouver, and maybe they figured they got a veteran coach for pennies on the dollar. And, maybe they figured they can get Babcock for a significant less than the $6 million that he was making from Toronto, or Laviolette for less than what he was making in Washington. So I'm not sure about what they're, where they're going on that. In that respect.
Yeah, I think they just want a veteran, and if they could leverage in one of those guys, like you said, and to have it fit their budget, why not? JD's an engaging guy. He's gonna try and pull in somebody like that. So I could see that. That's John Davidson's style. So makes sense to me. You have Goudreau there. There's some pieces there that are very nice. You got Johnson there. There's some good players there. I mean, so I think there's a lot of people that would want to go there. But again, the problem that they're gonna have is, like, mentioning Ken Johnson and Goudreau and everything else, they're gonna try those other bigger markets first. And that's why Columbus is gonna have to be there as the secondary option for one of those veterans. That's what's gonna end up happening.
Yeah, and the two up in the air situations right now. Nashville, apparently Barry Trotz hasn't decided 100% whether John Hines is coming back. And obviously the Toronto situation with Sheldon Keefe, who is sort of a lame duck with Dubas gone. Now, we'll go into the GM thing here. First, there are reports out of Pittsburgh that, and I just saw this, DK Sports in Pittsburgh was reporting that Kyle Dubas traveled to Pittsburgh and he visited late night at the Penguins facility with Sidney Crosby. Oh my God. So
that was going to happen. Of course they're going to do that.
Yeah.
That was, that was going to happen. Like, I talked about it like a week and a half ago, that was going to happen. If Dubas was out there, he'd go and Crosby would try and suck him in there. And I get it. Maybe Dubas looks at this as a great challenge, but whoever goes in there is still going to have an aging core to deal with.
Well, the Rob Rossi did a piece in The Athletic, and I read some of it about how ham-handed Ron Hextall was with certain situations there. And I honestly, I don't know how much better it gets. I think that the Pittsburgh job is a trap.
It's really hard. It's one of the hardest, if not the hardest job in the league.
Now, Dubas, like I said, Dubas, one of the head muckety mucks in the Penguins organization is Dave Beeston. He's the son of Paul Beeston, the former president of the Blue Jays. So he knows him well. That has always been the connection there. Maybe that allows Dubas some autonomy that he would not have had when it came to Toronto. That story has been well defined. So maybe that sucks him in. But again, you've got an older Malkin, an older Letang, an older Crosby, a team that I don't think was particularly well constructed. They're up against it in regards to the cap. I mean, it does not sound to me like it's a great situation, but if Kyle Dubas wants a challenge and he wants to get back into the club, then maybe he takes that job. But I wouldn't recommend it for him. But we don't know.
Nobody's going to take it. It's an NHL job, but it's almost impossible. Again, you have a team that's just on the edge of being good enough to make the playoffs and too old and just not good enough goaltending, and good luck figuring that one out.
Yeah, and I mean, Sheldon Keefe will not be hired as Mike Sullivan's assistant because
no,
that'll be a surefire. And he better hope that he's not the coach of Scranton Wilkes-Barre. But we'll see what happens. Now, I don't know if I buy this, but I'll just report what was reported by Andy Strickland. He says, sounds like the Toronto job is Brad Treliving's to lose. I don't think so, but he
would fit in the sense that he's established, he's boring enough so that nobody's going to really, there's no scandal to worry about. And that's what I mean by boring enough. So yeah, I could see it.
Yeah, it just doesn't, it's not exactly very,
it's just dull, Mike, but like, what else are you thinking about? I mean,
I think there are other GM candidates out there that would be, more acceptable. Now, I know in talking to somebody who used to be in Leaf management, he mentioned that Treliving would be his choice based on his ability. First of all, he worked in the Canadian market,
all right.
So he knows the heat and the attention that a Canadian market gets. His father is the owner of Boston Pizza, a major Canadian conglomerate, and he has
Treliving's father is.
Treliving's father, yeah, Jim
I didn't know
Treliving.
that. I've eaten a Boston pizza. It's not bad.
Yeah, no, but the thing is that based on that, he does know how to operate in heavily bureaucratic or is aware of like the heavy bureaucracy of big businesses. So now in Calgary, he was dealing with singular ownership, or actually no, I think actually excuse me, Randy in the chat. Calgary it used to be one owner, but then they split it up and it's like multiple owners. It's sort of a board. If it is sort of a board, then then he would have a better feel of how to handle that situation. Yeah, he can make me pizza. Thank you, Flamester. No,
look, Boston pizza. You want me to sort of rank it? It's kind of like just a hair above Papa John's. It ain't great, but it's okay.
Does that mean that they're going to kick Pizza out of Scotiabank Arena and put it Boston Pizza?
Oh, well, yeah, because it'll be like Little Caesars Arena. Like, what? Of course, yeah.
But I think
it's pretty like they're like Little Caesars. Like, there's really no difference.
I think that there are more.
Comment? You haven't eaten it, Mike?
Which
pizza?
Yeah, that's what they have. That's
right.
what they have.
That's like when you say it's like Little Caesars to me.
That's what they have in the press box all the time. And
your comment on it.
There's a reason I keep antacid in my bag.
Okay.
So no, but so I mean, would it be the worst choice? No. I think they need to get somebody in there fairly quickly. And he is. I mean, it's not like he's been out of the game for long. He was the Flames GM last season. So I don't know. I mean, I'm skeptical, and not because of Andy reporting it. I'm just skeptical because I think there are other candidates that they're talking to. And
this makes sense to me. I know you don't like it because it's boring, but I think that's what they want right now is boring. I think they want to get somebody that people forget is the GM, like fan-wise, so they stop talking about Kyle Dubas. That's what I think they're trying to do, honestly.
I mean, let's just say this, and I've already started to look forward in terms of where they're going rather than where they've been, because really, and I get messages from people, oh, was it Shanahan who did this? Was it the board? Okay, it doesn't matter. Kyle Dubas is gone. They can't change that. Shanahan is still there. Now the only thing to determine is whether this team, what direction they're going to go in terms of general manager, and whether they can get Austin Matthews signed on a contract before July 1st, and whether they trade Nylander or Matt Marner. And we'll end on this. Here is the biggest news when it came out when it comes to the Leafs. Chris Johnston reported yesterday that Brendan Shanahan contacted all the players after, before they let go of Kyle Dubas, and, contacted them individually. And the report that CJ mentioned was that Shanahan was in favor of keeping the core four together.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'll tell you right now, that's insane. Now, whether that is just to quell their fears, and then the new GM comes in and he's the heavy that makes the move, that's what I think it is. But, I'm sorry, I don't get. I think Kyle Dubas was going to trade one of the core four. I think that was
true. But let me answer Johnny Redick. He goes, "What sense does it make? Do you hire a GM to not talk about the other one?" That's just a function of it. They want to get somebody in there that nobody has anything to say about, good or bad, and that's what they want. They want people to stop talking about their front office situation. They want people to stop talking about the core four. They don't want to hear it, I'm sure. And so that would put them one step closer to not talking about that for the rest of the summer. They don't want that because it's all negative for them, and they probably have to worry about losing more employees. So they're just trying to put out the fire, folks. Like they may be getting who they think is the best, but I honestly don't think that's their full agenda here. I think their agenda is get somebody who's stable, get this stabilized quickly, and Treliving's out there. So,
yeah, and just think of it this way: Treliving, Calgary is looking. That organization is looking to make changes. The Leafs are looking to make changes, and Treliving could be dealing for players that he had in Calgary. And
Maybe.
William Nylander, where was he born? Oh, that's right. He was born in Calgary, wasn't he? So you go to his birthplace. There you go. Anyway, we're not going to have a show tomorrow. Russ has some things to do.
Sure, my fault.
No. Will you let me finish? Russ has some things to do, and I also have some things to do. I'm going to see the wonderful and talented Sarah McLachlan up in Niagara Falls. So we will reconvene. What's that?
No, I said slowly I turn. That's the old Abbott and Costello Niagara.
Step by step, inch by inch. Yes, thank you very much.
You have to bring a squirt bottle with you.
Yes, yeah. Okay, Mo. So we'll be back on Friday when hopefully my voice is better for another edition of the Hockey Buzzcast. So for Russ going on, Michael Agello, thank you for watching. And remember, without the buzz, it's just hockey.